The park was nearly deserted when he saw her. A tiny white girl, no older than 5, sat alone on a swing set, her scuffed black shoes dragging lazy lines in the dirt. The golden hour had just begun, and the fading sunlight caught the silent tremble of her shoulders. No one paid her any attention. Parents strolled past with their own kids, laughter echoing through the trees, but no one stopped. No one even glanced her way. Except for him. Sean Carter, a 34-year-old single father, halted mid-step, his hand tightening around his son's. Something deep in his gut refused to let him keep walking. He didn't know what it was exactly, instinct, maybe. But whatever it was, it made him turn toward the girl. Before we get into it, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. And don't forget to hit that follow button so you don't miss the rest of the story. Now, let's begin. Hey there, sweetheart, Sean said gently, crouching to her level and meeting her eyes with soft concern. His 8-year-old son, Noah, clung to his jacket sleeve, studying the girl with wide-eyed curiosity. Are you lost? Sean asked. The girl looked up slowly. Her pale blue eyes shimmered with a mixture of fear and hope. My mommy, she whispered, voice cracking like dry leaves. She didn't come back. Sean's chest tightened. He scanned the park. Empty benches. Faint glow from the street lamps. Not a single adult in sight who looked even remotely frantic. She's too clean, he thought. Too neat. She's not some forgotten stray. What's your name, honey? He asked softly. Ellie, she replied, wiping her cheek with the back of her small hand. Noah tugged at his sleeve again. Dad, we can't just leave her here. Sean nodded. His son was right. There was no way he was walking away from this. Digging into his coat pocket, he pulled out a half-eaten granola bar, Noah's snack from earlier, and held it out to her. Here you go. This might help a little. Ellie's tiny hands trembled as she took the wrapper, biting cautiously into the bar like she hadn't eaten all day. Watching her, something in Sean twisted. He knew hunger. He knew what loneliness looked like. Hell, he'd grown up with both. That thought clung to him as he adjusted the collar of her jacket to keep the evening chill from biting at her neck. All right, Ellie, Sean said, voice low and steady. We're not gonna leave you alone. We're gonna get you home, all right? Do you remember where that is? Her lip quivered, but she nodded. I know the street. I can show you. Sean hesitated. Something about this felt off. Too quiet. Too neat. But then Noah squeezed his hand, and Ellie's tiny voice broke the silence again. Please, don't leave me. That was it. Sean lifted her into his arms and carried her to the truck, carefully buckling her in next to Noah. She clutched the granola bar like it was treasure, her eyes flicking between the dashboard and the window. The ride was quiet, aside from Noah's soft attempts to cheer her up. You're gonna be okay, he told her. My dad always takes care of people. He'll take care of you too. Sean drove through darkening streets until Ellie pointed to a faded red brick building on a corner. His stomach dropped. The porch light flickered. The yard was overgrown. Something in the air felt thick, almost heavy. He parked, climbed out, and gently helped Ellie down. She grabbed his hand, small and cold, and the three of them walked toward the creaking porch. He raised his hand to knock, but the door opened before he could. What he saw made his entire body go still. A face from his past. A ghost he thought he'd buried years ago. The porch light buzzed to life, and there she was, thinner now, eyes more tired, but unmistakable. Rachel, his voice rasped, the name scraping out like gravel. Her hands still rested on the chain lock, her expression unreadable. Shawnee, she breathed, as if the name itself was too fragile to speak aloud. Ellie squeezed his hand tighter. Mommy, she whispered. Rachel reached up with shaking hands, unhooked the chain, and pulled the door open wide. Baby, she sobbed, dropping to her knees as Ellie ran into her arms. She held the child like she was both made of glass and the only thing anchoring her to the earth. Noah looked up at his father. That's your sister? Sean nodded once, jaw clenched tight. From inside the house, the smell of burnt coffee and dish soap drifted through the doorway. The living room behind Rachel was shabby but clean. A couch with mismatched cushions, children's drawings on the fridge, a folded blanket on the armrest like a promise someone kept every night. Rachel looked up at him, her eyes red, her face pale. "Thank you," she said, barely above a whisper. Her gaze faltered, fell to the floor. "I only left her for 10 minutes. I swear. My landlord called, said if I didn't bring rent by 6, he'd throw our stuff on the curb. My phone died. I ran. I ran as fast as I could." Her voice broke. She was shaking, not just from the cold but from something deeper: shame, panic, exhaustion. Her words tumbled over one another, clumsy and desperate. "I know how it looks," she said, voice tight. "I do. But I didn't have a choice. It was just everything all at once. Like a puzzle missing the last 2 pieces." Sean swallowed hard. He felt that. He held the door open for Noah, his hand resting lightly on his son's shoulder. Rachel's gaze flicked to the boy. Her eyes softened with surprise. "You have a son," she whispered. Just for a moment, a small piece of wonder cut through the heaviness in the room. "Noah," the boy said, lifting a hand in a shy wave. "Hey there, Noah," Rachel replied, her voice warm in a way that made something ache inside Sean. The kind of ache that reminded him of nights without power, when she used to help him finish homework by flashlight. Of whispered promises and shared struggles, and the years that had come between them. She had once peeled her last clementine in 2 and handed him both halves. That's the kind of sister she used to be. Now, here they were, settled awkwardly in her dimly lit living room. Ellie sat hunched on the couch, clutching a unicorn backpack like it held her entire world. Rachel perched on the edge of the cushion, tense and small, like a guest in her own home. Sean stood a moment longer, scanning the room with a quiet, practiced eye. The smoke alarm had batteries, the windows were shut, the lock on the front door was flimsy, barely latched. The flickering porch light wasn't a dying bulb, it was a bad wire. "Tell me everything," he said at last, lowering himself onto a worn-out chair across from his sister. Rachel swallowed hard. "After Mom." She paused, and the silence after that word was louder than any sob. That funeral dress had been thrift store polyester. That year had nearly broken them both. "I tried to stay clean after that," she finally said. "And I did. I picked up a job down at the diner. With Mark. Thought he was a good guy." Her voice faltered. She looked at Ellie, then away. "He's gone now," she added. "Gone for good. I swear. But he left us with overdue bills and 2 months behind on rent. Landlord's losing patience." Sean's hands clenched into fists on his knees. "Is he coming back?" "No," her voice was iron. "I told him if he tried, I'd call the cops, the pastor, and every neighbor I know. I meant it." Sean let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Why didn't you call me?" Rachel let out a bitter laugh. "Last time we were in the same room, you told me if I ever showed up high again, the door'd slam in my face. I believed you." She looked at him, steady now. "I've been clean, Sean. 2 years, 4 months. I wanted to knock on your door with cake and a coin, you know? Show you I'm someone else now. Not the girl who burned everything down." A tangle of shame and pride twisted in his chest. He glanced over at Noah, who was sitting cross-legged beside Ellie, carefully teaching her how to slide a straw into a juice box without tearing the foil. Gently, Noah murmured, "Like this." "You're not the same," Sean said softly, his voice almost a whisper. "I can see that." Rachel blinked rapidly, then nodded like a soldier following the orders of her own heart. "I made a stupid call tonight," she said. "Left her alone in the park. I hate myself for it. But I didn't know what else to do." "Now you do," Sean replied. He stood up, squaring his shoulders like a man about to lift a transmission block. "First, we feed everyone. Then I fix that door. After that, we figure things out. Together." Rachel let out a strange sound, part laugh, part sob. "You still keep tools in the back of your truck?" "2 boxes," he said with a half-smile. "And a rotisserie chicken on the back seat. Noah eats like a linebacker." Sean raided the cabinets and found mismatched plates and just enough clean forks. He shredded the chicken, scrambled some eggs, and tossed sliced apples into a chipped bowl. It wasn't fancy, just fast and warm. Noah brought 2 plates over. Ellie took a few bites cautiously, then dug in like she hadn't eaten all day. Rachel sat frozen until Sean handed her a fork. She didn't lift it until he pulled his own away. "Go on," he said as she finally started chewing. "We're not fancy people. We're hungry people." Kindness, he'd come to learn, wasn't poetry. It was action. It was logistics. After dinner, he set Noah and Ellie up on the low coffee table with a tin of crayons. "Draw me the fastest car you can imagine," he told them. Their faces lit up like Christmas. Then Sean stepped outside, toolbox in hand, into the deepening night. Laughter spilled from neighboring houses, mingling with the distant wail of sirens. He unscrewed the porch light, scraped corrosion off the contacts, tightened the wire caps. The flickering stopped. The bulb steadied into a clean, clear beam. Back inside, he turned his attention to the front door. "You mind?" he asked, already halfway through removing the warped screws. Rachel snorted. "Take her to prom if you want, Sean. That door needs all the help it can get." He swapped the stripped screws for longer ones, reset the strike plate deeper, and tightened the hinges. When he tested it, the door shut with a solid, satisfying thunk, like it had something to say. "You're safe now." Rachel stood nearby, arms folded, watching his every move like someone afraid to speak. "Do you hate me?" she asked suddenly, her voice barely louder than the hum of the refrigerator. Sean looked up. He remembered a 17-year-old Rachel tossing his backpack out a window so he'd skip school and catch the bus to safety. He remembered her missing his wedding because the bottle had won. He remembered the ultimatum he'd growled through clenched teeth and regretted before the echo even faded. "No," he said at last. "I hated what you were doing to yourself. That's not the same." Her shoulders eased slightly. "I hated me too," she said. Then, with a faint smile, she added, "Thanks for fixing the loudest door in the state of Georgia." He wiped his hands on a rag and set the screwdriver aside. "Should keep most wolves out. The rest we deal with face to face," she said, teasing lightly, tired but still sharp. "We call in backup," he replied, gently correcting her. "I'm here. I should have said that sooner." A quiet pride bloomed in his chest as he watched Noah show Ellie how to draw lightning bolts on the hood of her crayon-colored car. Simple things. The kind that mattered most. The kind of moments life was really made of. "About the landlord," Rachel said quietly, chewing her lower lip. "He's not a bad guy. Just tired of waiting. He said if I don't have the money by Friday, he'll start filing papers." Sean nodded once. "How much are we talking?" She hesitated before giving him the number. It was steep, but not out of reach. He started calculating aloud, figuring extra hours he could pick up at the store, swapping shifts with his buddy Clint who still owed him a favor or two. "We can make it work," Sean said. "No," she replied quickly. "Not on your own. I can't let you carry this." "You're not letting me do anything," he interrupted, his tone firm but kind. "We're family. We don't loan each other air. We breathe together." Rachel's hand rose to her lips, overcome. Ellie, sensing the shift in the room, scooted over and leaned gently into her mother, the kind of instinctive affection that both broke Sean's heart and stitched it back together at the same time. He pulled out his phone. "2 calls," he said. The first was to Pastor Leon, his old friend and spiritual anchor. The man ran a small reserve fund at the church and knew the ins and outs of housing laws better than any website. The second was to Mrs. Alvarez, the school coordinator who managed the local food co-op. She'd make room. She always did. "You still go to St. Mark's?" Rachel asked, watching him. "Sometimes on Sundays," he said with a smile. "Tuesdays too, when they're short on pancake batter. Turns out I make a mean blueberry." Her laugh came quick and bright, a sound that wiped years off her face. "You always did." Sean placed both calls from the kitchen, where young ears couldn't catch numbers or stress. Pastor Leon picked up on the second ring. "Leonie, it's Sean Hayes," he said. "I've got a situation with my sister. She's got a little girl. We don't need a handout. We need a plan. Can we talk tomorrow?" There was a pause, then the low, familiar hum of a door opening. "Come by," Leon said simply. Mrs. Alvarez replied with a string of capital letters, 3 heart emojis, and an appointment time. When he returned to the living room, Rachel had pulled a shoebox from beneath the couch. Inside it was a small bronze medallion, stamped with 24 months, nestled beside a stack of handwritten letters. She held the coin up between her thumb and forefinger, like it might hover on its own. "I was saving this for when you could be proud of me," she whispered. Sean reached across the coffee table and gently laid his hand over hers. The coin was warm against his palm. "I already am," he said. Silence fell over the room, but it no longer felt heavy. It felt settled. Peaceful. The kids, buzzed from crayons and dinner, had melted into the couch cushions. Noah's head had flopped gently onto Ellie's shoulder. She didn't move, just leaned into him like the idea of big brothers was something she could get used to. Sean stood and pulled a blanket over both of them. "Noah's got school in the morning," he said. "We need to head out. But I'll be back by 8. I'll bring coffee and a new deadbolt. Something with a little backbone." Rachel nodded, her fingers still wrapped tightly around her medallion. 8, she repeated. "Thank you, Shawnee, for everything." He stepped toward the door, hand on the knob, and paused. "You did something right tonight," he said. Rachel blinked. "What do you mean?" "When you knocked on my door," he replied, "you told the truth." Her lips softened. "I'm tired of lying just to survive." "Good," he said. "Then let's start learning how to live." He opened the front door, now lit by a steady, unwavering glow, and froze. There, resting on the doormat, was an envelope. Thick ivory paper. His name written in tight, familiar cursive, handwriting he hadn't seen since the night everything in his life turned inside out. Mark Ellison. The man Rachel had sworn was gone forever. The return address wasn't a house. It was a law office. Sean's chest tightened. He picked up the envelope, immediately feeling the dense weight inside. Legal forms, maybe guardianship paperwork, or something worse. He slid it into his coat pocket without a word. His mind already churned. Lawyers. Timelines. Strategy. Evidence. Bucks. "What's the problem tomorrow?" Rachel asked softly from behind. Sean turned, eyes clear and voice like tempered steel. "Whatever it is," he said, "we'll face it together." Outside, under the porch light and behind a reinforced door, he stood for a moment, watching his son asleep through the window and the house that had suddenly become a promise. He took a deep breath and made a quiet vow to himself. He wasn't just going to get Rachel through the night. He was going to help her break the whole damn cycle. When dawn broke, Sean returned with hot coffee, a tool belt, and Noah. Rachel opened the door with calmer eyes, though fear still lingered in the corners. They ate breakfast quickly and got to work. Sean installed the deadbolt, reinforcing the frame and setting the screws deep. "This is your home now," he told her. "No one comes through this door unless you want them to." Finally, he pulled the envelope from his pocket and placed it on the table. Rachel's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were custody papers. Mark Ellison was laying claim to Ellie. Sean scanned the forms immediately. No court stamp. No case number. "It's a bluff," he said. "Pressure tactic. He wants control, not custody." Rachel's shoulders sagged, a storm of fear and relief at once. "I won't let him take her," she whispered. "You won't have to," Sean replied. "We'll get a lawyer. Get everything documented. Beat him to it." Later that afternoon, the doorbell rang. Sean checked the peephole, and there he was. He stood there with a smirk, holding another envelope between 2 fingers. "She'll come with me eventually," he said. Sean didn't flinch. "Any further contact goes through her attorney," he said calmly. He handed Mark a typed letter from Ms. Patel, Rachel's newly retained lawyer. Then closed the door. The new lock clicked shut like a gavel. Behind it, Rachel exhaled. But she didn't shrink. She stood tall. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said. Sean looked at her, then at Ellie, coloring beside Noah. "Good," he said. "Because this family doesn't live in fear anymore." The porch light glowed steadily behind them, not just a fixture, but a symbol. A promise that this time, they would fight. And this time, they would win. If this story moved you, hit that follow button so you don't miss what comes next.